મંજુલાબેન મહેશભાઈ સોલંકી. હું કચરો વાળું છું. આ તો અભી ખોલાઈ જ હતા. ખોલાઈ નહીં. મારા સપના હતા કે કંઈ બચત થાય તો કંઈ સારું, બીજા કંઈ નવું ઘર બહાર સારું લઈએ, કંઈ એવું કંઈ સપના છે. જે કામ કહો એ કરીએ અમે. તમે જે કામ કહી શકો એ બી કરીએ. બીજું કામ જે કહી શકો એ.
Always our main thrust is employment. So whatever campaign or whatever we see, our first consideration is the woman and her economic status. Forest campaign, we have been involved with the members who are small forest produce gatherers and firewood pickers. We had surveyed and studied their problems, mainly that their life and their livelihood totally depends on the forest. The forest department sees them as exploiters.
એટલે પહેલાં અમે ખેત મજૂર એટલે અમારા ગામમાં એમ કે મોટા ખેડૂતો હોય ને એમના ખેતરમાં અમે કામ કરવા જતા હતા. એટલે અમને સિઝનની 10-15 દિવસ જ મજૂરી મળતી હતી. એટલે જે અમારા ઘરનું પોષણ સારી રીતે થાય એ થઈ નહોતું શકતું. એટલે અમે અમારા બાળકોને ભણાવી નહોતા શકતા. હું ખેત મજૂર બેન છું. એટલે પહેલાં હું ખેત મજૂર બેન હતી, અત્યારે હવે વનલક્ષ્મી મંડળીના અમે માલિક એમ કે થયા. એટલે એમ કે આમાંથી કમાઈને તો ઘર બનાવ્યો.
To be alone for a poor person makes them live in a very vulnerable position. Those who have little bit of asset is able to fight vulnerability slightly better than those who are totally assetless. So, generating asset in her own name, woman's name, that brings a tremendous, shine in her eyes and a confidence. And it takes time. But that process is what I call empowerment.
Sewa's priorities are work, food, clothing, and a decent home. Then comes education. With undeniable common sense, the organization's results translate into providing a license to create a future, a better reality. The secret lies in an intelligent strategy to change society from the very center of the system. One example is the case of the Dayans, traditional midwives who care for women in rural areas and who are paid 1/10 of what a hospital receives. Dayans had no official recognition and barely survived. Sewa offered training, obtained a government identity card for them, and provided materials for their work. Today, these barefoot doctors, as they are called in the villages, perform their jobs with full recognition.
મારું નામ પૂનમબેન દલપતભાઈ વાઘેલા, ગામ વલ્લાદ, તાલુકો જિલ્લો ગાંધીનગર. હું છેલ્લા 15 વર્ષથી દાયણનું કામ કરું છું. ડિલિવરીમાં સારું ઘર હોય તો કોઈ 200 આપે, કોઈ 100 રૂપિયા આપે અને કોઈ નાય આપે. ઘર એવું હોય તો નાય આપે. કાલે મેં એક ડિલિવરી કરાવી તો એક સાડી આપી અને 51 રૂપિયા આપ્યા.
You may ask that why am I there then if I'm not a working class? I was a lawyer. You need a combination and support of the educated women also, because the society is not totally changed. So when you have to deal at higher level or at different level, then we are like sisters. Whatever I have, they don't have. And then whatever they have, I don't have. So we try to combine our strengths together and make a dent into the decision making level.
મારું ગામ આતને નામ રાણભાઈબેન રાવમાં તાલુકો સાંતલપુર જિલ્લો પાટણ અને સેવામાં હું અત્યારે પહેલાં 11 જિલ્લા હતા અત્યારે 14 જિલ્લામાં પ્રમુખ છું અને મુખ્ય ગુંદર કામદાર હું.
Why not a gum collector be the president of Seva? Because no woman in Seva is identified as a widow or deserted or divorced or prostitute or destitute or belonging to that community or this religion or speaking that language. We are all workers.
Sort of Gujarat Maharashtra border. And this
15 years ago, Dr. Vandana Shiva, a philosopher and physicist specializing in nuclear energy, worked for the Indian government. She was asked to carry out a study of the Dehradun Valley, the place where she had been born. In the course of her research, Dr. Shiva confirmed the deforestation taking place in the region and learned of the Chipko movement, a women's movement dedicated to protecting the forests which were threatened by the timber industry. These women became famous for hugging the trees to prevent them from being felled. Vandana Shiva decided that she had to take sides, and she did so in defense of nature, in defense of biodiversity.
Well, I guess I've been an activist all my life. Anyone who has a conscience can't but be an activist to engage in preventing injustice, preventing destruction of nature. Anyone who cares will do something. To be an activist is to act. And in a world of destruction and injustice, to not be an activist is to accept injustice as the norm, which means to kill your conscience. I think anyone who is not an activist today is accepting violence, is accepting exploitation.
In recent years, a current of thought and action has spread throughout the planet. Eco-feminism. Dr. Shiva is a noted theorist of this movement, which proposes a philosophy of life, a way of understanding the world from a non-violent standpoint, from a respect for all life forms.
Ecofeminism is a struggle. It's a struggle of the millions of women who have said, you cannot log these forests, they're destroying our lives, and hug the trees. The women of these mountains are the ones who taught me ecology. They taught me ecofeminism. And they came out and hugged the trees and said, no, you'll kill us before you kill our trees. For me, ecofeminism is the struggles of the women in the coastal areas who lay down in front of the bulldozers and said, you will not make industrial shrimp farms which destroy our water. In India, 10 years ago, and we're talking about 10 years of radical change in the way people live in this country, 10 years ago, there was nothing like waste in an Indian home. We used to buy our vegetables. We usually go with a cloth bag, and at the end of cooking our meals, whatever scraps were left, people used to go out and look for the cow in their street to feed it to her. So the cows got their food, and we had no waste. And now that we've moved into the plastic and fossil fuel culture, it's basically the petroleum culture. The carelessness that it generates, it creates the carelessness of climate change. It creates the carelessness of throwing your waste away. And it creates the carelessness of not knowing that your waste is then killing the cows who you pretend to worship.
In the 1960s, the so-called Green Revolution became the world's great hope for ending hunger. Norman Borlaug, winner of the 1970 Nobel Peace Prize and acknowledged father of this revolution, declared that the massive use of pesticides and fertilizers would double, even triple harvests and production. The end of hunger was near. Countries all over the world rushed to implement industrial agriculture.
Transgenics and pesticides are promoted by the same set of industries. These are the industries that were related to the war. They made these chemicals first for war. Now they've tried to bring it to agriculture. They have money. They want more money. The governments promote their products because they manage to get the governments corrupted to sell their products. It is purely a result of corruption
of governments that is leading to the continued use of chemicals in spite of 30 years of deep knowledge that chemicals in agriculture are destroying, not producing more food.